Hey everyone, tabletop fans, ready to dive into something really cool.
Always up for that.
Hmm.
What are we looking at today?
It's Warfig. You guys sent over the rulebook, Warfig 1.5.pdf.
Yeah, I've heard some buzz about this one.
And just skimming through, I'm already hooked.
What's got you interested?
This isn't just another war game, you know? The creator's passion just jumps off the page, especially when they talk about making it affordable and community-driven.
Right off the bat, yeah. I noticed that too. It's refreshing. You can tell they're coming from a genuine place, wanting to share their love for the hobby.
Totally. It's like they're saying, look, I've been there. I know the struggle of wanting to get into these games.
Especially wargaming. It could be a pricey endeavor.
It can be, yeah. But with Warfig, they're breaking down those barriers. So for those who haven't heard of Warfig, picture this.
All right, lay it on me.
Imagine a tabletop battlefield, right?
Classic setup.
But you're not just pushing around painted miniatures. You're commanding armies represented by these cool tiles.
Tiles. Interesting. So not traditional miniatures then?
Well, sort of. The tiles are like snapshots of your squads, and then there are cards.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about these cards.
They add a whole other layer to the game. Special abilities, upgrades, a little bit of unpredictability.
So the tiles are your units, and the cards add, what, like special actions, gear, maybe?
Exactly. It creates this really dynamic system.
I'm seeing the appeal already. Tactical options, resource management, all that good stuff.
And get this, they emphasize using terrain, too. Not just for looks, but strategically.
Oh, now that's smart. Most miniature games, terrain is basically just set dressing.
Right. But here, it sounds like hills, forests, rivers, they all matter.
Adds a whole other dimension to the strategy. Love that. Makes you think about positioning, movement, all of it.
And then the big question, how do you build your army? Is there a complicated point system, like some games have?
Good question. I mean, it has to be balanced, right?
It does. And they do use a point system. But here's where it gets really cool. You're not just picking pre-made units. Remember the tiles.
Yeah. Those represent your units. Wait, are you saying?
The rule book hints at players being able to design their own units.
Whoa. Hold on. Customizable units, you say? That's a whole new level of depth.
I know, right? Imagine the possibilities. But for those who aren't ready to design their own armies from scratch.
Yeah, not everyone wants to jump into the deep end right away.
Exactly. They've got pre-made factions, the Republica and the, oh, this is great, the Orcish alliances.
Classic fantasy vibes. So you've got options for beginners or those who want to dive right into playing.
Exactly. They've really thought of everything. All right. So we've got our armies, we've customized our units, I'm ready to clash. How does a game of Warfig even work? Is it a free-for-all on the board, or is there, like, a structure?
Think structured chaos. They use a turn-based system, each turn broken into phases.
Okay, I like where this is going.
So you've got spells, move, then shoot, melee, and finally reinforcements.
So each turn has this, like, back and forth. You're casting spells, then maneuvering your troops, then bam, ranged attacks, close combat, bringing in reinforcements.
Exactly. Creates a really nice flow.
I bet. And what about chance? How does luck play into all this? I'm picturing dice flying everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. Dice are key in Warfig. Hitting your target, how much damage you dish out, it's all in the roll.
That's what I like to hear. Keeps it exciting, right? Because no matter how good your plan is, sometimes the dice have other ideas.
Adds to the tension for sure. You can't get too comfortable, that's for sure.
And we can't forget those cards. What role do they play in the heat of battle? They're not just for show, are they?
Definitely not. Those cards, those are your trump cards, your secret weapons. Spell cards to unleash chaos on the battlefield. Need a defensive boost, there's a card for that. Want to outmaneuver your opponent? Command cards are your friends.
Sounds like you got to be strategic with them. Can't just go throwing them around all willy-nilly.
Exactly. Adds a layer of resource management to the game. Got to make those choices count.
Love it. Now, something else caught my eye in the rulebook, the Warfig Personal Challenge. Sounds hardcore. What's the deal with that?
You're talking about a duel to the death, miniature style.
Right.
Smaller squads, lower point limit, and it's all about tactical melee combat. Quick, brutal, and oh so satisfying.
A true test of skill, then, for those who like their battles up close and personal.
Precisely. But for those who prefer epic battles, the rulebook also has you covered. Different army sizes, victory conditions, you name it.
So Warfig's got a little something for everyone, then.
It really does. No matter your playstyle, you'll find something to love about this game.
So, whether you're a fan of those quick duels or massive battles, Warfig's got you covered. But speaking of massive battles, we got to talk terrain. It really brings those tabletop showdowns to life, you know? And the rulebook mentions forests, hills, rivers, even penalties for moving through rough terrain. But it feels like terrain in Warfig is more than just, oh, you move through a forest, take a penalty, right?
And you hit the nail on the head there. The rulebook actually encourages players to go crazy with terrain. Like, come up with house rules, really make the environment count.
I love that. So it's not just about placing a couple of trees and calling it a forest. You're thinking strategically about how that forest impacts the battle.
Exactly. Like, imagine your archers using that forest for cover, picking off the enemy. Or maybe a river becomes this choke point your opponent has to get through.
Okay, see, now that's what I'm talking about. It adds a whole other layer to the game. And then there's this part in the rulebook where it says players can decide on terrain penalties before the game starts. What if you took that even further? Instead of just penalties, what if terrain features could be used, like, actively during the game?
Now you're talking. Imagine using a powerful spell, right, to create a wall of fire, cutting off an enemy advance. Or maybe you could freeze a river solid so your troops can just walk right across.
Yes. The terrain becomes this dynamic element changing the battlefield, and you have to adapt your strategy on the fly.
And that's the beauty of Warfig, isn't it?
Yeah.
The rules give you this awesome starting point, but it's like the creator is inviting players to build on them, make the game their own.
It's that perfect mix of structure and freedom, right? Like, here are the tools, go create something amazing.
Exactly, and that's what makes it so exciting.
So, for our listeners today who are clearly as hyped about Warfig as we are, what's the key takeaway here?
Simple. Warfig isn't just another war game. It's a game built on a love for this hobby, a passion for making it accessible, and this really cool community-driven spirit.
It's a game that rewards smart thinking, tactical planning, and most importantly, not being afraid to experiment, to try new things. And if you're the kind of person who loves to tinker, to customize, to make a game your own, well, Warfig is calling your name.
It's true. From the affordable price to the whole idea of players shaping the game, Warfig is a breath of fresh air.
Absolutely. So go gather your armies, build your battlefields, and get ready to experience a game that's as big as your imagination.